To help you to speak like a native English speaker, today you're going to learn 15 essential slang words and phrases you need to sound like a Brit. So when you are learning English, it's really nice to learn slang words because these are the words that people actually use in day-to-day conversation. So it's nice to mix learning formal language, formal vocabulary, and also the slang words. So today, let's have a look at some of the interesting vocabulary. So we have food and drink, and as you know, I love my food, so this will be quite fun. So first up, we have a chippy, and a chippy is a fish and chip shop. So for example, we're going to the chippy for dinner. There's a good chippy around the corner. So chippy is a traditional fish and chip shop, and I love the fish and chip shops in the UK. It's quite an experience going in there. They've changed from my experience. I'm quite nostalgic about fish and chips. Improve your English and join my group English speaking class. Email me at info@britishharry.com for more information. The class costs a small fee. Again, you can email me for more information at info@britishharry.com, because I remember my mum giving me some money to go and get some fish and chips for dinner. Fish and chips were her favorite thing to eat. So I grew up being surrounded by fish and chips. And back in the day, you'd have old newspaper, and it made the whole experience just feel special. Also, it was cheaper back then. Today, fish and chips are really expensive. Everything it has gone up in price. But it's nice going to a chippy. Do you have a favorite chippy that you go to? If you do, let me know. It'd be interesting to know. So that's a chippy. You can also have some different things you can buy from the fish and chip shop. You can have some mushy peas. You can have a saveloy. You can get some pies. For me, I like to keep it nice and simple and just go for some fish and chips. A nice piece of cod is delicious. And then we have a boozer. So a boozer is a pub. So let's meet at the local boozer. He spends every Friday night down the boozer. So a boozer, pub. You can also have booze, which means alcohol. When you go to the boozer pub, it's quite traditional in British culture to go down to the pub. More back in the day, I think, less so in today's society, again, because of the prices. They've become like a local hub in the community for families as well. And they usually have quite nice beer gardens. And in the summertime, it's glorious to go to a nice pub and go into the beer garden. Then we have an offie. So an offie is an off license. This is where you have a shop selling alcohol. So I'll pop to the offie for a bottle of wine. There's an offie just down the street. So you can have shops that just sell alcohol, but it's more common to find alcohol. A news agent. So this shop would sell other things as well, like newspapers, snacks, sweets, even some things like bread or milk. So your staples that you need, food staples. So this is an offie. A full English. This is short for a full English breakfast. So you have bacon, sausages, eggs, a lot more things as well. So we had a full English before heading out. Nothing beats a full English on a Sunday morning. That is actually very true. I do love to have a full English, except it can be too much to have it every day, but it feels like a treat. So on a special occasion, it's quite nice to have a full English breakfast, but having it too much is not advised. Bangers. So bangers are sausages. We had bangers and mash for dinner. The butcher sells proper handmade bangers. So bangers and mash. Mash is the mashed potatoes. Bangers are the sausages, and it tastes delicious, especially with some gravy on top. So again, when you find some nice bangers, it's nice to stock up and put them in the freezer. A butty. So a butty is a sandwich, and this is common in the north of England. So you can have a chip butty, you can have a bacon butty. I grabbed a bacon butty on my way to work. Fancy a chip butty from the cafe. So having a nice bacon butty from a cafe can be a nice experience with a nice cup of tea. It's quite nice, especially when it's freezing cold outside. It feels like a treat. It makes you feel good. A takeaway. So this means takeout food. Shall we get a Chinese takeaway tonight? He brought an Indian takeaway round. Nosh. So nosh, this is a slang word for food. That's some good nosh you've cooked. We grabbed a bit of nosh from the market. So nosh is quite nice to say. And even if it's a word that you don't say often, it's nice to say to someone out of the blue, because it just adds a bit of humor to the conversation. Grub. Grub is food. So general word for any food. So the pub does great grub. I'm starving. Let's get some grub. And if the pub does great grub, it's brilliant, because it makes you feel like spending more time in the pub than you would normally. Then we have brew. So brew is a cup of tea, especially from the north of England. Fancy a brew. He made a strong brew after work. In the south of England, you could say a cuppa. Do you fancy a cuppa? So a brew is a cup of tea. Fancy a brew. In my mind, when I think of brew, I think about a big pot of tea, like brewing some tea. But this can also mean just an individual cup of tea. Then we have cuppa, cup of tea. So very common all over the UK. Come in for a cuppa. Nothing like a cuppa on a rainy day. That is very, very true. To have a nice cup of tea, it feels like a nice warm hug, especially when it's cold outside, with some biscuits. But I need to be careful with the amount of biscuits that I'm eating, because you can get carried away dunking the biscuits in to the cup of tea. A pint. So a pint is a beer. So this is usually on tap. So when you go into the pub, rather than having a bottle of water, you'd have a pint. So you'd have a pint glass of beer. So fancy a pint after work. He ordered a pint of lager. Or I'm getting the pints in. Do you want one? So pint is beer, and it shows the amount of it. So you could have half a pint. You could have a pint, which is more standard. Cheeky Nando's. So this phrase has become very popular, having a cheeky Nando's. So this is a spontaneous or slightly indulgent trip to Nando's, which is a popular chicken restaurant chain in the UK. We went for a cheeky Nando's after the match. Shall we grab a cheeky Nando's tonight? I'm not sure why it's become cheeky. Probably because it's something that you shouldn't be doing. You should really cook at home and make a nutritious meal, but sometimes you just want to have a takeaway or go somewhere that isn't really expensive. And sometimes you can find some good deals. So you can go down to Nando's and have that experience without breaking the bank. So having a cheeky Nando's, cheeky, you're doing something that you shouldn't really, but it adds to that experience. So having a cheeky Nando's. Do you like going to Nando's? I do. I think the sauces that they have they are really nice. Usually I like to have a medium. So using the medium peri-peri sauce is very nice. A pudding. So a pudding, this means dessert. So a general British word, not just sticky toffee pudding. What's for pudding? We had apple crumble for pudding. That sounds delicious. Apple crumble with custard on top is delicious. So pudding is dessert. Afters, this means dessert. So this is informal and or casual. Who wants afters? Ice cream for afters? Anyone? So again, watch the video again. Practice saying the words out loud after me. You can use this lesson as shadowing practice. Write in the comments any words that you like, or you can write some sentences with the words. Also remember to join my group English speaking class. This is a paid class and you can practice your English with other students in a really friendly and supportive environment. Email me at info@britishharry.com for more information. So that's info@britishharry.com. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely day and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.